Hello everyone, this is European Gun Lover, and before we dive into our subject, I need to emphasize that no one should ever attempt to imitate or do any of the things discussed in this video without proper knowledge, training or licensing if your country requires it. I will also not take responsibility for any attempts, as they should be performed by experts only, and also all I will be talking about here will be fictional scenarios. Then let's dive into the subject. There are a lot of gun myths in the games, but there is one that I didn't quite found talked about on the internet or in the forums. That gun myth is present both in video games and other forms of fiction, but for today we'll mainly focus in video games concept. So just to introduce you to this gun myth, there is this channel called Indigo Gaming, and I'm a big fan of this channel. Guys do great documentaries, especially about post-apocalyptic and cyberpunk genres, which I'm a big fan of. Therefore, to present you this idea, we'll play a little bit of the video. So here we go.
Ammunition would be harder to find after decades of apocalyptic scarcity. Weapons should be more disposable.
Okay, so ammunition will be harder to find after decades of post-apocalyptic scarcity. And now this is very important to emphasize that there is one wrong assumption that I see not only here but in general about post-apocalyptic scenarios. It's that as time goes on after the apocalypse event, after, for example, in most games like Fallout, after bombs fell and most of the population either died or became had to live like had to return to their primal lifestyle. So the idea is the more time passes, the less ammunition will be available, and for this to be true, it pretty much implies that there is only ammunition made before the apocalyptic event, which are usually nuclear war, that only ammunition made before that event actually can be used, that it will be the only ammunition available. Well, maybe with the exceptions of some organized fractions that will form, like for example in Fallout, that would be a Brotherhood of Steel or Enclave, that have their own big workshops and their own factories, their own laboratories, but of course everything they produce they will keep to themselves to have advantage over other wastelanders. So pretty much the assumption here is that the only available ammunition will be the ammunition that was created before the war, but not yet used, not yet discovered, looted and used and it will shrink over time as people scavenge for it. And this is the biggest problem with this myth, is that it pretty much assumes that people are not going to create ammunition on their own. And when, of course, I'm talking about firearms, ammunition, I'm not talking about any ammunition that plasma weapons use, or the batteries for laser weapons. I'm talking about either bolts, arrows, or just cartridges for modern firearms. And what I have to say about it is that, of course, everything will be scarce. Like, food will be scarce, clean running water will be scarce, clothes will be scarce. Like, the thing you can see on the character, ropes will be scarce, probably, at least factory made like this one. But the point is, ammunition will be as scarce as everything else, but not more. Why am I saying this? It's because making ammunition is not more difficult than making firearms themselves. And if you, for example, look at the Fallout 4, it's very interesting, because in Fallout 4 you can create your own crude, let's say, workshop-made firearms, but you cannot create ammunition for them. Ammunition is something you have to find or buy, presumably from someone who find it themselves. You have this workbench, and this, for some reason, can be used to create firearms that have multiple moving parts, that even for some workshop made stuff to not immediately blow up and probably injure the owner, it have to have some tolerances. And you apparently can made it, but you cannot made ammunition, which is totally, I would say, it's totally untrue. Making ammunition is not difficult. I would even say that making in the scenario of apocalypse, making firearms would require at least some workshop, but making cartridges is something that I would say every tinker, like in the post-apocalypse, when tribes form or small villages form, they always have this tinker guy or a girl that is able to do simple things, like fix simple machines, or to do some welding. And this person would be more than enough to create ammunition. You may not believe me, but here I'll show you a clip of a guy
go through it,
reloading shotgun shells. He's pretty much reusing spent shotgun shell casing to make a new shotgun shell.
after you done cleaned your weapons.
He puts
and ate.
a new primer. He then puts powder and new load. For the cartridge, and as you can see, pretty much he's using very very basic, crude tools. He's doing this in the field. It's not even a workshop. And somehow he managed to create a functioning shotgun shell. Okay, let's go deeper. Maybe can you make a workshop yourself?
You can do this too if you've got.
Here you have a gentleman
Put the new primer.
that made tools himself, very simple tools.
Using winch.
Well, maybe not this, but
I'm
something
using
else
stretch
can
wads
be
from
used.
B.
And he's making
The Lee 2.5 outer measure
410
will hold it with him yet.
shotgun
Outside
shell.
shot, I don't know. I haven't can see that or not. Shoot these in a single shot.
And there will
Shotgun, you
be
probably wouldn't need to.
and
I
there
can
will
get them
be
out.
functional. So you have a workshop, you have a ready workshop, because the bombs, they might have destroyed power, but they obviously, the radiation didn't destroy the mechanical tools like this one. So if you have a workshop, it's even easier. Here you have a video of a guy reloading shotgun shells with professional factory dice, but he's doing it with a hammer. He don't even need a press to create them.
For this,
So as you can see, it's not impossible. I would say rather it is very possible to make ammunition in the case of fictional post-apocalyptic scenario. It's ammunition don't need to be made inside industrial factory like this one, like Federal Ammunition Factory, when everything is automized and there is power, there are industrial machines that creates everything. It's not absolutely necessary. Most of the ammunition is created in the factories, but it's only done because of economical and also legal reasons, because this is a big factory, it's a company, it is possible for them to get a license. Usually most of these factories they have a special license that allow them to create ammunition and test it and everything. But in a case of post-apocalyptic scenario where people will need all of the resources, as I said, they would need clothes, they would need food, they would need water, everything will be scarce. But there is absolutely no reason why ammunition should be more scarce than clothes or petrol. For example, there are some games where you drive a lot, do this big quest that puts your character life in danger, and you do this to receive free shotgun shells. And that absolutely doesn't make any sense, because, as I said again, ammunition won't be more scarce than firearms. Ammunition won't be more scarce than petrol. Everything will be scarce. But ammunition is possible to make without factory equipment. Hello, Fallout 4. Yes, it is possible to make them without setting up a factory. It is possible to make it with some just basic tools or homemade tools, or tools that are made for creation of ammunition, which is called reloading. But that is not the basic tools, which do not require any power, do not require any machinery. Okay, you might say, okay, I showed you that this is possible to create the shotgun shells in case of post-apocalyptic scenario, but how about brass cartridges? How about, for example, let's say revolver ammunition? Is it possible? Well, this gentleman just provided us the answer. He's just creating 38 special round from spent brass all by himself in the field using a very sophisticated industrial wooden log and a hammer and some very basic reloading dice that any wielder, and especially person that has a workshop like that, would be able to create. And at the end of this process, he will show that, well, his basic creation that did not came from a factory, industrial factory, actually works. So the concept of ammo being more scarce, it works in a game of survival horror genre, because in survival horror genre like Resident Evil 1, you are confined in a space that you cannot live, and you cannot create your own workshop or get your own tools there, because it's a temporary situation in which you have to deal. So the ammo scarcity in that situation, it is perfectly viable, it is possible. But in a situation when the remnants of civilization that we know are rebuilding the society, and they create simple water filters to filter water. They create, well, in Fallout actually you had to found it, but they could create a kettle just to boil the water, and they create villages where they know how to process leather when they are drying the meat. There is no reason why they couldn't create simple tools to actually make cartridges for their either pre-war firearms or crudely made firearms. And also creating bullets
without the spur. The lead in my ladle is enough for 5-6 balls, so this little fire was enough for the job. But if you wanna cast more, then you will need a more serious fire for sure.
Actually, lead is pretty easy to form.
Now watch this. All 6 fall out just opening the mold.
And by the way, I need to plug in this channel because Fortune Cookie 45LC, you are awesome. Please subscribe to him if you want to get into reloading, or you just want to see a man with a passion. Just subscribe to him. In this case, he's pretty much making cast bullet from a lead that he heat up and then put into the mold. So it's not something that any technical people would not be able to do. You may think there will be no knowledge about it. Well, I would disagree, because some of the people that have survived might have a knowledge how to create ammunition, and they could pass it on. Other people, when people scavenge the wasteland, they find the books, and there are many reloading manuals that actually teaches people how to make cartridges that works. And what about safety? Well, of course, in the real world, people who reload their own ammunition do it from factory-made components, so that they can ensure that the ammunition they are going to create will be safe. But in the post-apocalyptic scenario, where people just need to survive, and there is a need to have weapons and to have ammunition for survival, well, then they would probably take a risk of their weapon blowing up. So yes, probably many of the crude guns will blow up before they would find the right formula for the ammunition that works. But again, once they find right formula in one village, they would have a person, a tinkerer, that will create ammunition, as they have a person that will create armor from processed leather. So, in my opinion, the myth of extreme ammunition scarcity, more than anything else, in the case of fictional wasteland apocalypse, is not a very viable one, if I have to be honest. Again, I'm not saying that Indigo Gaming are the people who are pushing this myth. Absolutely not. It's just there is one assumption that I want to clear out, and they actually talked about it. So therefore, this is my input that I wanted to make. And again, all people that made clips that are in my video, I'm very grateful to you, and I will put all of the links in the description. Please subscribe to them, because they do very good content. And more importantly, remember, we're talking about fiction. Don't try any of this. Stay safe. And if you want to become an expert in reloading, remember to get a proper training, and remember to always know the law of the country that you live in. Is it allowed? What licensing you need? And stay happy, and always think about your favorite firearm before you sleep, and subscribe to my channel. Take care.